Thank you for tuning in to
WarRap Radio Podcast.
This show is sponsored by
Bird T-shirt, signs, and embroidery.
For all your printing needs.
We are located at
118 Trinity Road, Saluda.
We can be reached at 864-445-2616
or 803-317-7760, and that's for Beverly.
Welcome to the Finding Me podcast. I am Cheryl Morton, your host. Welcome to this beautiful evening. I'm not sure if it's raining where you are, but it's raining down here. The rain actually sounds really beautiful. Guys, we're asking you to share this podcast because this is going to be a very important podcast to watch. We're going to give you some great information. So whether you Democrat, Republican, whatever your political views are, this is going to be a podcast to watch and share. But first, we're going to bring on one of our sisters that is a part of the Focus on Freedom platform, and that is none other than Mrs. Tomiko Tutt. Tomiko, are you here with us?
Yes, I am. Good afternoon. How are you?
I am very awesome. I'm doing well today. Thank you so much for tuning in with us. We are so glad that you are here to share your 10 minutes of inspiration. Tell us who you are and have at it.
All right. I'm Tomiko Tutt. I am currently employed as a therapist at Aurora and also discharge planner, social worker at 2 other area hospitals. Have a background in social work and counseling, and that has just been my God-given purpose, I believe, for the last 20 years plus. Today, I just wanted to talk with you all about something that kind of hit home for me, and it kind of lines up with the topic that the speaker is going to have coming after me. Personal choices. You know, a lot of times we make decisions, some small, some large, and, some, very important, not so important. But we often don't realize how important a personal choice is to us. A personal choice is one of our biggest freedoms. It's the authority to say, this is what I choose, this is what I believe, this is what I stand for, this is what I stand on, or this is what I stand against. And your form of personal choice can be voiced by many ways. Sometimes we take this for granted. Personal choices affect you as well as others. Not just, sometimes when we make a decision, especially if you're the head of your household or even if you're single, it does not matter. When you make a decision, sometimes we don't take into consideration or full consideration of how it impacts others around us or family members. I've made some decisions here lately that people probably think are just crazy. They can't wrap their mind around it. And I'm pretty sure we all have made decisions like that. I know someone that decided to buy a brand new vehicle during the pandemic. Well, guess what? I don't know what their backup plan was. I don't know what their finances are. So I can't sit here and make a decision based on their personal choice. But let's say hopefully they did explore all options and are able to figure that out. That's just an example. But did you know that, personal choices, like I said, sometimes often cause conflict. And, we can go about this different ways. There are people that freely tell you what their choices are. It's my decision. I made it, and I'm going to stand by it. And that's fine. You have a right to assert yourself in that way. And then there's time when people don't want to push back. It's my way or no way, and that's my personal decision, and that's my personal choice. And oftentimes people will express their personal choices to spark a debate with you, or they want to encourage feedback. They want to know, well, what's your opinion? I've already made up my mind, but what's your opinion regarding what's this choice that I'm going to make? A lot of times, depending on your personality, we have to make decisions when it comes to our families, when it comes to our workplace and careers, when it comes down to church, when it comes down even to this political environment that we're in, that the speaker, I'm pretty sure, is going to touch on in a few moments. And the right to have a personal choice is something that we should not just take so lightly. It is definitely something that we need to be mindful of, because y'all, guess what? In so many areas, people want to make a choice. We can choose in the United States how many children we want to have. Every country does not have that freedom. We can choose in the United States where we want to reside. We can choose what kind of careers we want to go into, what kind of work we want to do. We have all these choices that we can make that so many other people don't even have the freedom to make. I think we just take for granted a lot of times. And it's just okay to be mindful. And it is okay to, make your moves in silence. Some people don't feel comfortable voicing what their personal choices are, especially when it comes to the subject at hand that's coming up, like voting. And then some people do not care because they don't want to get into that debate or that controversy, but they hold certain beliefs or belief systems, and it's their personal choice. There are people that are in the same families, reared the same way, but they don't have the same beliefs when it comes to politics, religion, raising children, education, the role of certain people in the family, and I can go on and on. So I just said all of that to say this, and I'm definitely not going to keep you long, is just to say, be mindful of your personal choices, evaluate, I always do a pro and con, and be careful who you share your information with when you allowing others to be a part of what you're experiencing, unless you have thoroughly made up your mind and this is what you're going to do and what you're going to continue to do. And just always remember, whatever the choice that you have, it is truly yours.
Right.
But also remember, it also has an effect, and that is to be considered as well. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for those mighty words of wisdom. Those are words of wisdom. We all have a personal choice. And it's so important that we all make the right choices, whatever that is for ourselves. So thank you so much, Tamika, for sharing that inspiration with us. You have a great one and be blessed.
You too. Thank you.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, guys, in the studio, I'm excited to have in the studio with us this evening, of course, of my sidekick, my spiritual daughter, my assistant, my mighty awesome assistant, Reverend Natasha Gresham, is in the studio with us today again, and we thank her so much for being here. And our guest today is Mr. Bill Kimler. He's here with us. We're going to talk about it. Mr. Bill, Natasha's going to introduce him, and we're going to let her have it because we want to have as much time as we can. Go ahead, Reverend Natasha.
Hello, everyone. So I'm super excited about our guest today. This is one of the most down-to-earth persons I've ever encountered and met. I've had some dealings with him before, and every time it's always a delight. We have Mr. Bill Kimler here, who is the chair of the Greenwood County Democratic Party, and he has been with the Greenwood County Democratic Party since 2017, January 2017, where he came in and became the secretary, and he was elected the chair in the year of the pandemic, 2020. Now, what's interesting is he actually came to Greenwood, South Carolina, in 2016. And the reason I think that that's interesting is because a lot of times people feel like that they're not from here, and they got to feel it out and blah, blah, blah before they can get in and start, making a difference. And so we'll talk about that a little bit later in the show. But he is originally a true Yankee boy, born in Philadelphia, raised in Southern New Jersey, and lived 20 years in New York. I cannot say the name of that town. Is it Binghamton?
Did good.
Okay.
Binghamton, New York.
New York, for 20 years. He is the father of two and the bonus father of two. And he actually went to graduate school studying physics, where he originally intended to teach high school, and he did for a little while. But he is now here in South Carolina, working for a global. He's a software product manager for a global company. Blessed to be able to work from home. And so let's get into it. How did you get into politics here in Greenwood, South Carolina?
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you for inviting me here today. I know politics is not your wheelhouse. To my left is Cheryl Morton, and she told me straight out she doesn't like politics. So I don't know why she would think it'd be a good idea to have me on. So, but I'm glad to be here anyway.
We need knowledge.
Yes.
Yeah, and you know what? Getting outside of your comfort zone.
Yes.
I think sometimes if I was to rewind the clock and talk to a Bill Kimler from 10 years ago and take a picture of this radio station and the women I'm sitting next to and the producer across from me and say, this is what you're going to be doing in 10 years, I'd say, boy, you're out your mind. Never would I have guessed. So, yes, we're here to talk about some politics today. I had never considered myself a political person before. I'd always voted. I believed the act of voting is a civic duty. And from the moment I could legally vote, I voted. And I never really paid attention too much to parties. I'll be honest with you. I always looked, who do I like the best based on what information I have? Look, I'll admit it. I voted for John McCain that one presidential election. So I'll admit it. I wasn't loyal to one party or another. I thought Mr. McCain was more experienced. I thought he was the best guy. I didn't know much about that crazy vice president choice that he had picked. And then we were, Barack Obama won. And then I voted for him 4 years later because I thought he did a pretty good job, But it really wasn't until 2017. Now, can you remember what happened January 2017? Well, we got ourselves a new president. And I always wanted to give everybody kind of the benefit of the doubt, right? You say crazy stuff during a campaign. You do what you do to get elected. And good for him. He won. Wasn't the one I was rooting for, but he won. I was like, well, let's let him settle in. And maybe the seriousness of the seat would weigh upon him and we get down to business. And no, it just got crazier. And what did it for me, what pushed me over the edge, was when out of the blue, they clamped down on all the Muslim countries. They called it the Muslim ban, right? So all of a sudden, all flights in and out of all these countries suddenly stopped. And he said, we just want to see what's going on. And it was a very capricious act. And what happened is that very good people, American people, got trapped overseas. And there was a story of a student at Clemson University. She was a graduate student studying data science and, data and technology. That's that's my alley. And she was visiting her sick grandmother in Iran when that ban came down. And next thing you know, she can't get back to her country. She'd been living here for years as a student. She had a dog, she had a boyfriend, she had all these responsibilities and coursework, and she was just stuck. And there was no recourse for her. And it took months before she was able to get back. And my heart just bled, because that's just one story out of thousands of these random acts of cruelty that transpired during that time frame and in the years since. So, I've got some grown kids. I've got a 25-year-old who's a nurse and a 22-year-old now, and he's starting a career in cybersecurity. And I really felt it was time for me to give back to this wonderful country of ours in any capacity I can. I don't claim to be a genius at all. I don't know all the facts. I'm learning every day myself. The skills that I have, I can organize. I'm good with spreadsheets. I'm good with messaging. I can get people together and align in a common purpose. So I figured I'd give that a shot, join the local party, and now here I am.
That's
Wow,
awesome.
that's great. Yeah.
That's really good. And I guess I better put a disclaimer. We are not here to tell you to vote, what party to vote for, Democrat.
We are here to tell you to vote.
That's
not
what
who to
we're
vote
here
for.
Right. We definitely want you to vote. This is a whole purpose, but we're not telling you what party to vote for. That's up to you. But we just please beg of you to vote. And with that, we're going to go ahead and get into the questions and this information. We're also going to open up the lines probably about 6:45 to give you an opportunity to call in if you have any questions for Bill. So, Reverend Natasha, go ahead.
Okay, so I see that you volunteer with Greenwood Counts, and I see a lot of different titles under there. The Racial Justice League. Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh my goodness. I got asked to join that just a few weeks ago. And a couple of the members, Mr. Donald Burton and Bishop McCrae and a number of others that I've encountered in my travels. And they don't really have all the answers, but at least this is a group of various people, multiple races, multiple ages, multiple backgrounds, just looking to try to find some commonality to solve some problems. And we're not the only ones, right? Everybody. We got churches doing it. We've got parties doing it. We've got organizations doing it. And so this is just a group of volunteers that get together every couple of weeks. We're kicking around ideas. We're just starting to form what it is we're going to do. Okay. And I think we're going to start seeing some announcements shortly.
Great. That sounds good. And we'll be definitely looking to hear from that. I like how you said, you don't have all the answers, but you know your strong points. And here's what I have to offer. I think that's something that we all should definitely take to heart. When we may feel like, well, what can I do? What can I have to offer? Well, what can you do? What do you have to offer? We all have something to offer. So with that being said, how can we, the community, help with any part of politics, specifically the Democratic Party, if you like to speak on that, or just governmental or political trials of any sort?
Right. Gosh, that's a big question, and that could take a full hour to dive into that, right? It all starts from what your heart tells you is right and what your heart tells you is wrong. So I come at this from my moral center, all right? I'll be upfront and honest, and I may even share some things here in your broadcast that I've never shared before publicly. I look forward to that. But I'm not a particularly religious person. I grew up Roman Catholic. I went to Catholic school for 12 years. If you can imagine being taught by nuns and priests all your life, that was my background, which I'm sure is very different from many of your backgrounds. But over the years and having gone to college and just observed, I developed a sense of moral values. And one of those moral values to me is the truth. And when I disagree with you, and I can bet I can find 3 topics right now in 5 minutes that the 3 of us will disagree on. And that's fine. As long as you're being honest about what you know, you're being honest about how you feel, you're not making up facts, you're not spinning things, then we can have a great conversation. What I've seen too much of in the last 4 years was a complete disregard for facts and truth. And it is hard to find any commonality on any issue if you're not going to be speaking honest about it. So in terms of getting involved, the first thing is empower yourself with knowledge, right? Learn some facts. Don't go based on what you saw on a Facebook meme or whatever. I question everything I look at. And then I follow up on it to say, all right, does this check out? And then I incorporate that into my belief system. And I've had to change my mind on a number of things and apologize on occasion, too, for jumping the gun.
You can say that 2 times.
All right, I've had to apologize. I've had to do that twice, too. But just become empowered with knowledge, I think, is number one. Don't dismiss something just because of who the source is. I think there's truth to be found everywhere. I mean, I read the New York Times, I read the Index Journal. Heck, I'll even turn on Fox News just to see what's going on, because I think there's some truth there as well. It may not be the truth they're trying to tell you, but there's some other truth when you're trying to learn what are people believing, what are they being fed, so you can establish some common ground. So that would be the first thing I would say, and I'll leave it at that.
And I love that, because what you just said was, you don't mind apologizing. You don't mind that we disagree, but we can still get along because we disagree. Just because we disagree, that doesn't mean we can't be friends.
Hey, here's my first confession. I come from a mixed marriage. All right. I'm a Democrat. My wife's Republican. Right.
Wow.
And you know what? We've been married for years. She gives me the freedom to pursue my interest. I think sometimes she'd rather
That's
I not.
major.
But
That's major.
And she has her beliefs too. And you know what? She was born here in Greenwood. She's lived here all her life. Her church upbringing, her school upbringing, her parental upbringing. That all shapes who you are.
Right.
But she's a wonderful person.
She really is. I personally know his wife.
You know her. That's right. Well, good. Then you can take that message back if she's not watching this. So yes, it is possible to have decent relationships with people if you're a decent person in the process.
God, that's so important, because so many people think because of how we vote that we cannot be friends, or we can't be close because, you vote Democrat, I vote Republican. It doesn't matter. It goes back to the beliefs, because people will, when I voted this last time, when you go down to, I voted who I thought was the best candidate. Of course, growing up, I've been always taught to be a Democrat. But as I got older, and like you were talking about with the facts, and I'm like you, I like to study for myself and to find out who people are. So in this last election, of course, I voted for a Democrat for the president. But there were some of the local that I voted for a Republican because I thought they were the best person for the job. So, and hey, if you don't like it, you don't like it. Nothing in the Bible is talking about Democrat and Republican. I think that's so important that we can still be friends no matter what the party. So, and you just said in your house, your wife, you guys are different. You politics wise, you think different. So I think that's a major thing that people on this podcast need to know. It's okay. We can still be friends.
Let me share with you what I don't have patience for, and I see too much of it in town. So if you are like this, then we're not going to be able to come to an agreement. We're not able to be friendly. So, for example, my House representative is Representative John McCravey. And there's just so much that I dislike about his personal politics. And recently he wrote a Facebook post where he said, and I'll quote it, he said, "The false and negative narratives of the left, such as critical race theory and 1619, must not be allowed to pollute the minds of our children in school." Right? That's word for word quote. I didn't make that up. So I commented underneath. Now, I'm not claiming to be an expert. I'd never heard of critical race theory. I bet most of you haven't either until recently when it became an issue, but it's been around for 4 decades, right? And so I commented saying, look, CRT is an advanced subject taught in law and graduate school. I think y'all's children are safe. What's next on your list of invented social issues? And then the comments underneath, though. Now, this is where we get to some of the poison that I feel is in the system, right? I was called a communist. I was called a Marxist. I was called a socialist. I'm just going down the comment list, just name after name after name. Nobody addressing any of the facts that I brought up, saying that there is no CRT in your elementary school. That's just not happening, right? So back off. But you get this automatic. Oh, and even Representative John McCravey even commented, 1619 project teaching false history. And that was it. Didn't say what about it was false. Didn't say, hey, here's one fact that they put in this book and here's what's wrong about it. It's just false history, and then done. And how do you communicate? How do you change the minds? How do you warm that heart up so that you can have a conversation? It's like, okay, what don't you like about this 1619 project? I know a little bit about it. It's written by a brilliant author. This woman is 10 times smarter than me who wrote this thing. What is there in that you don't like? All right. So she has an interpretation. Okay. Well, we're all allowed to have interpretations, but what are the facts that you disagree with? And we're just not going to get there the immediate reaction is to call the other side names. Another thing that I see often is, and it was just in the Index Journal, right? Democrats hate America. I hear that nonstop. Anybody who hates America, they want to tear our country down.
Wow.
Now, I look at the Democratic responses. I don't see that. I see us going after individual politicians like, boy, Donald Trump said something crazy. Here's what he said. Can you believe that? Okay, so we're going after the individual and what that person said. But I never come out and say, Republicans hate our country. Republicans are trying to tear us down. There's just a lot of venom there, and it's all taught venom. It's not something that it's coming from a place of honesty.
I think you said the magic words earlier. Education. People, you know, and I don't know much. I'm just learning about the 1690, of course, from my husband, Pastor Morton. He's kind of enlightening me because, again, I just have to be honest. Again, I don't like politics, so I don't follow it. I don't read up on it or anything like that. So he keeps me informed. But I think it's ignorance, you know, with all the name calling and everything. I guarantee you, if you brought 10 of those people in the room, they couldn't tell you what it says. They just going on what somebody else said or a comment that was made out of it. And I really think that is what's missing in our area across the country. People, they're being taught. They're not being educated. Education is key. Everybody thinks when you talk about education, that means you have to have all these degrees. No, being educated, period, is research, studying, finding out the facts, finding out what is true and what's not true. And I really think, I know that's what it is. People are not educated. They're just going, well, my mama said, or my daddy said, or my uncle said such and such. They don't even know what's in the article, in the book, on the documentary, because they haven't watched it. They haven't read it. So that is what the problem is. They're just going with because my family said, or whoever they think is the. I guarantee you, half of the people that loves Donald Trump has no clue as to everything or research what this man has did. Same thing with Biden or whoever. The majority has no clue. So we have to research these things to find out truth. And it's ignorance. When you start calling any kind of name calling, you start calling name calling, that's ignorant anyway, because that's fear. Not my personal opinion. You just fearing the unknown and you don't know, so you just lashing out.
You know what I learned early on when I got involved in this politics thing is you got to develop that thick skin.
Yes.
I remember the first time I got called something. Oh, I was a keyboard warrior, man. I was typing up a storm. My keys were flying on fire, you know, with my burning responses. And you know what? You just get so tired of that. So I read that more with a sense of humor, you know, now, you know, but you just can't keep these things personal.
Right. Wow. Well, I'm kind of, because I hadn't seen that comment, that Facebook post. And so I'm just going.
You don't have to go far to find more like it. Let me tell you. And you know what? Here's the thing is, he made this statement about critical race theory, and I was scanning through the comments. And one thing I had to observe was that 100% of the comments, both for and against, were from white people. I was like, well, none of, this isn't my story here that critical race theory is about. I mean, it affects all of us. It absolutely does. And it's just a matter of connecting the dots from the 1700s to today. And one thing that I learned, this is a fun fact, because we think of slavery and we think of the civil rights movement of being so long ago. We think of women's rights to vote being so long ago. It's not that long ago. You know Harriet Tubman, right? Harriet Tubman was alive when Thomas Jefferson was, right? She was born, she was just a young girl when Thomas Jefferson was still alive. And she died when Ronald Reagan was alive. Wow. Her life spanned Thomas Jefferson and Ronald Reagan, right? So it's not that far of a connection. We're not that old of a country where these things are just so distant past. Let's just get over it. Right. No, things that happened to your grandparents, great-grandparents, great-great-grandparents have a direct effect on what you have today. It was very nice, that opening statement about freedoms, right? And yes, we are blessed to be in a country. We don't have to look very far to find countries that don't have the freedom to do a lot of the things we can. But one thing we have to be aware of is that even those freedoms that we enjoy can be subtly eroded.
Right.
So you have the freedom to buy a house. Well, you think you do, but then some algorithm that's using data
Right.
that's built upon
Yes,
racist practices
yes,
tells
yes.
you are declined, while,
Yes.
or you go for a job and your name is
Oh,
Tamika,
wow.
but you don't get it, yet somebody who submits the exact same resume with the
Right.
name of Karen
Or less.
gets the job.
Or
Right.
less.
And these are just things that happen. So these freedoms are so precious. You talk about a freedom, the right to vote is such a precious freedom. Now, here in Greenwood, the last election, 75% turnout. That's high in the nation. Still, to me, 75% is a sad number. I mean, there's 25% who didn't get their butts out of bed on that day
Right.
and cast a vote or cast an absentee ballot, the weeks before. But there's a lot of talk about how these rules across the country are all about trying to suppress the vote.
Right. That
We
was just
didn't-
where I wanted to move to next. Look, yeah.
And you know what? I understand, but all of these efforts to make it harder to vote, if it stops one fraudulent vote, but it discourages 1,000 others from ever participating, that's voter suppression right there.
Right.
You're not protecting the vote. You're just eliminating the vote. There's a case of a woman in Texas, an African-American woman. She had just got out of jail. She went to vote. Her name wasn't on the list, so she cast what's called a provisional ballot. That means, well, get your vote here. It's not going to count until we research it. Well, it turns out she wasn't allowed to vote because she was an ex-felon, and in Texas, they didn't allow that. She's spending 5 years in jail, right, for that. Now, this
For
was
what?
For attempting to vote.
5 years in jail.
5 years, and it's being appealed. But she is spending 5 years in jail for trying to cast a vote when it was truly an honest mistake. When she was released, they did not tell her, and this is on court record. They did not tell her that she was not allowed to vote. And they said, well, you did sign the form. And these forms, they're 5 pages long, tiny font. So she went and she thought she was clear to go cast a ballot. And it turns out she wasn't. So now they slammed her down. Now, that's just a tragic story of one woman. Now, just think about her friends and the people in the community or the people in Texas. If they have any doubt in their mind, they're like, oh, heck no, I'm not spending no 5 years in jail. I'm not going to go out and vote now. That's voter suppression right there.
Wow.
I'm just confused.
It's flabbergasting, and I can share that link with you. It's an absolute true story. It
Wow,
happened
yeah, I
in the last
believe you.
election.
I'm just like, what? Wow. So that's why it's so important, guys. Those of you that can vote, vote. Do you know how many people died for the right for you to vote? That's a whole nother topic. We can talk about that for days on it. Please vote. That's we really want to help you and he's giving you numbers.
When you have elected officials telling you, hey, we're not interrupting your right to vote. We're not trying to suppress your vote. All the stuff we're doing is good. That's malarkey. So here's a fact for you. In Georgia, in one of the recent elections, this graduate student did a study, and he found that in polling places where minorities were more than 90% of the active registered voters, the average minimum wait time to vote was 51 minutes. So 90% of the voting community, African-American, you're on average waiting 51 minutes to cast your ballot. In another community where more than 90% of the registered voters were white, guess what the average time was? 6 minutes.
Wow.
So putting polling places, having the drop boxes, making sure that everybody has equal access. Yeah, we all have the right to vote. There's nobody doubting that. You've got a freedom to cast your ballot. But over here, we're going to make you wait 51 minutes. Over here, we're only going to let you, you don't have to wait 9 minutes.
And you think they're making them wait so that they will get, upset and just leave so they won't vote?
Mm-hmm.
Or make them not even attempt because people are afraid. I gotta go to work and all that, even though they should be able to
legally
jobs should be able to.
Yes,
but we know what that could mean because we're in the at will state, so we can find another reason.
Absolutely,
to let you go.
And I'm going to keep saying it throughout this whole thing. Please vote. Go out and vote. He's giving you the numbers. The numbers don't lie. They're there. They're getting them from somewhere. I say that might be a loaded.
So these aren't
comment.
things that I'm inventing, and really it's all about educating yourself. And when you do see the injustice, now nobody says that life is fair, right? Nobody's guaranteeing you health, wealth, and prosperity.
Right.
That's not guaranteed, and nor is it guaranteed that if you work your hardest, you're always going to get the reward. That's not guaranteed either. But boy, can we at least set a level playing field?
Right.
And that's what this is all about. We want to
Right.
we're not looking to give out handouts. And that's the thing. I see a lot of the hatred out there. It's, Democrats want to just give out everything, and nothing's further from the truth. I've worked really hard for everything I have.
Right.
I went to school for
Definitely
what felt
have.
like 100 years, and I put in 7-day-a-week work weeks, and I've had some real terrible jobs in my day, and my parents didn't come from wealth. They built themselves up. So I don't see anybody wanting to give out handouts. But at the same time, I have a stepmother who's alone because my dad had passed away a couple of years back. She has MS. She's in a wheelchair, and she is 100% relying upon public assistance for all the medications she has to take, for the nursing care she has to have, for everything that would bankrupt any individual like you and I. Healthcare is another major thing. Recent article just came out. $140 billion in debt Americans are for healthcare. Right? And you talk about healthcare as being something that only the privileged few could afford. That's not right. You earn your success, you make your money, you did great, you worked hard. Go buy a yacht. Go get a nice house. But it shouldn't mean that you're the only one entitled to a kidney transplant if you need one.
Right.
Or critical
Right.
medicine, or have to pay $300 for an insulin shot. That's ridiculous.
Right.
And that's the world that I think we can control and make things more equitable, make things more fair.
Right.
Wow.
And I think, a lot of people worry about voting for the president, and we should, but it's the local people that we need to really, truly get out there and vote for, because they're the ones who are making the laws within our cities. And that's who we really, truly need to get out and vote for. Vote for everyone, but those are the important ones. Those are the ones that go and make these laws, these rules. And, my theory is if you don't vote, be quiet. That's just, I believe that if you don't vote.
Lady Cheryl, we've been saying that for so long. If you don't, vote, be quiet. But I mean, I'm just ready to tell everybody to vote. Make some noise. Have a reason to make some noise. Let's go vote. Let's do what we need to do to educate ourselves. We have great facilities in place and facilitators in place, like Bill and like so many others. We'll talk about some of those others in a little bit. That if we don't understand, we are without excuse of saying what we don't know, we don't understand.
Right.
Like you were just saying, and I'm in the same boat as you. I can't follow politics as swiftly as it goes by, but I have people around me that I can say, okay, what is this? How does this affect me? How does this not just affect me? How does it affect the community? How does it affect the person next to me? Because you know what? There are some things that personally I might be okay with, because of the support that I have, or because of my situation. My life is set up in a way that I can survive this. But maybe my sister or my brother next to me wouldn't be able to.
Right.
So getting the
what a
understanding
great way
of that.
around that is, because you're right, there's an information overload. There are 100 issues we could talk about. We could talk about the environment. We can talk about women's rights. We can talk about everything. You can't digest it all, because otherwise you just go into your shell and say,
Right.
look, I'm tired.
Right.
Put what's on the TV. I'm going to watch some Game of Thrones. Let's get out of this.
Yeah.
So pick one. And that's my advice, right? So if your passion are senior citizens issues, then just focus on that. Because you're right. You've got a big family. You got lots of friends, different people with different areas of expertise. Maybe environmental justice is your cause. Pick one and become an expert just on that.
Wow.
And then there's going to be plenty of others to pick up the slack on all the other
Right.
issues.
And then when we all come together, my God, we all have knowledge, and we can all work together.
Right.
With all of this.
We had a question about the Georgia voting laws, and I see we have a slide about that. So we can go to that slide and let you talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, and we're going to open up the lines in about 5 minutes, guys.
Oh,
so if
no,
you
I
have
got-
any questions.
I got to go in 5 minutes then. Boy, what a coincidence that is.
Any questions you may have, Bill's ready for it. He's joking, but he is definitely ready for any questions that you may
There's
have.
a lot of controversy about what's happening in Georgia. And if Trump had won the presidency and if Ossoff and Warnock had not won the Senate in Georgia, then Georgia would be just happy with the laws the way they were, right? There'd be zero changes. But you know what? They lost big. So then they enacted a lot of changes. And again, I'll go back to Representative McCravey. He actually went online and said the new Georgia law actually expands voter access. It's like, okay, let's do a little diving though. This is where I want to do some independent research. Maybe he's right. And you know what? If he's right, I'll come out and say it. I don't care. I'm about the truth. But here are some of the facts about what it truly does. Yes, it does require strict new ID requirements. Now, that sounds like one of those common sense things. Hey, shouldn't you have to show your ID? Okay, you can almost get on board with that. But we're talking about needing to have your ID information entered in on an absentee ballot. And you'll take a look at a Georgia driver's license. There's two very big numbers on there. Which one's the right one? And you know what? If you get the wrong one in, your vote doesn't count. It's gone. All right. So there it is about throwing away the votes of those who vote absentee. And then there are some scary things there. And again, you can read this for yourself and it's available on our website and all that. But the Secretary of State, this is the last bullet point. This is a guy who's a Republican. Donald Trump called him and said, I need you to find me more votes. When the election didn't go his way, he refused. And then he became Donald Trump's worst enemy. And Donald Trump went after him. And then the rest of the Republicans in Georgia got in line and says, all right, Secretary of State, we're taking you off the state election board. They're removing the power from the people who are. All right, so they lean conservative, and that's fine. They act honorably. They do their job the way they're supposed to, and they have lost power as a result. We're seeing that happen all over the country. That third bullet point on the right, if election problems arise, which happens, right? Voting machine goes down, or paper jams, or power goes out, or something. You used to be able to extend voting hours, right? Now that has been made more difficult. So yeah, people can claim, hey, we still allow you to do it, but if you're going to make everything harder unnecessarily, then what's the point? You know what? Last year, yes, Joe Biden won, and I was happy about it. Do I think Joe Biden is the second coming of Jesus? No, I don't. He's got some issues as well.
You got that right.
All right, and you know what? Of the choices you had, he was the best one,
definitely.
And he's got a lot of good things going for him, I think. But one of the reasons why he won is because voting became more accessible to so many. So in 2020, because of the pandemic, 108 million people voted before Election Day. So whether it was early voting or absentee balloting, people took advantage of it. You brought more people into the mix. And when you do that, well, then people who didn't have a voice before suddenly have a voice. In fact, 70% of all votes were cast early, which I thought was a great thing. Now, next election, when these states are peeling that back and saying, nope, we're going to shrink that time frame. We're going to make things a little bit harder. We're not going to have mobile voting units like we used to reach those rural areas. We're not going to allow absentee ballots except for a much shorter period of time. All that is doing is limiting your access to it. And what's the point of that other than to suppress the vote and to undo these results that we saw last year?
Guys, it's 1:45. We're going to open up the lines. If anyone wants to call and have a question for Bill, the number is 864-445-2616. Again, that number is 864-445-2616. Or you can make a comment. It doesn't matter as long as you are within reason. We're not having any vulgar or any bad language or anything, but you are welcome to call in because everybody doesn't agree with what we're saying, and we're okay with that. I'm okay with anybody disagreeing with me. I'm fine with that. I'm still going to love you. So 445-2616 if you would like to call in, and we will continue the conversation.
While we're waiting for someone to call in, I want to go back to talking about how we can help and people getting involved. And this seems to be a very we get a call. Yeah.
Caller, you there?
Hello. Hey, baby, how you doing?
I'm
It's your
fine.
husband.
How are you, Hunty?
I'm good. Hello, Reverend Gresham.
Hello. I was waiting for your call.
Yeah. How you doing, Mr. Bill?
I'm doing fine, Reverend. I'm still waiting for my fruit socks that you promised me a month or two ago. Where are them special socks?
They are coming.
All right.
Listen, I wanted to ask you about your thoughts on the Texas Republican Senate and how they voted against the CRT and 1619 Project?
One, I think it's a vote that has absolutely no meaning whatsoever because it's just not being taught the way they think it's being taught, right? So what they're not against CRT and the 1618 Project. That's not what they're against, but they are against any mention of the past American sins, where a lot of our infrastructure, our early growth as a country came on the backs of those who were not willingly here. That is just a fact. The White House itself was built on the backs of those who didn't sign up saying, hey, I'm looking for a good job. You got a big old White House I can build for you? That's not how it happened. So what they're trying to do is take any reference of that out, references that are there already. So it's not worrying about a new thing that they're teaching. They're more concerned about taking away what is being taught already as facts. And the sad thing is, these laws have been written so vague that it's just going to tear up the legal system as challenge after challenge is brought. And we're seeing it here in Greenwood. There was a school board meeting, GW50 school board meeting, and you saw it in the paper the other day. A guy gets up and he wanted the members of the school board to talk right then and there about prohibiting CRT from being taught in schools. Now, what was he really worried about? Because he didn't know what CRT was. This isn't a guy that's cracked a book open in 20 years, right? Unless it was a TV guide, maybe. But he didn't know what CRT was. So what was he really worried about? He wanted to still be able to wave his Confederate flag. He still wanted to be able to go look at the Confederate monuments. That's what he's worried about. And that's what that Texas law is about. And you know what? They're trying to push the same thing here in South Carolina. And that's what John McCravy's post was about. Was celebrating the fact that our Attorney General here, Alan Wilson, had filed some paperwork denouncing CRT and all this other nonsense. In fact, our own Superintendent of Education, Molly Spearman. Now, I followed her. She normally seems a very rational, sane person. She lives on both sides of the equation. She had one weird rant about CRT and the 1618 Project come out that just seemed to come out of nowhere. No context, no facts.
Right, absolutely.
Just a statement. So I do, I know what they're worried about, and that's what these laws are truly about.
Right. Because we know that from K-5 to 12th grade is not even taught at all. What they are really saying is that some of the terminology is creeping into our schools, and that is a false that's a false accusation anyway. I want to say this, and I end with this right here. The reason why I'm paying attention to Texas, because of Texas, I think about California, New York, Florida. They have some of the largest school districts in the United States, and they influence textbooks. They influence the rest of United States with their power and and the demographic of their school districts. And I think people really need to pay close attention. And that's why we're hearing it in South Carolina, like you spoke of just a moment ago. We're hearing it here because on those larger platforms, they are speaking against it. So we're really going to have to gather ourselves, and we're going to be demonized. And right now, you can't be weak when it comes to a vote. You can't be weak regardless of what party. Especially as a Democrat, you can't be weak because we are cut down a whole lot and saying that we are not for the United States because we are Democrat. And that terminology really has taken on a whole different shape and a platform of itself. And I stop right there. But it is dangerous times that we're living in, especially with your vote and who you believe in and what you believe in. So we can't be weak. And with the laws that they are making, trying to scare people and people being weak at the same time, it doesn't work for a certain demographic of people. And I'll leave it like that.
Yeah, look, I know the reality of where I live. I came down south from the north, and so I thought it was the funniest thing when I was watching Civil War reenactments. and the South was winning those reenactments. I thought that was odd.
Oh, wow.
I was like, maybe I got my history backwards.
Wow.
But I know the reality of
Yes, sir.
red versus blue here. But here's the way I look at this. As long as I see wrong out there in this world, as long as I got a voice to speak out about it, I'm going to use that voice. And I don't care if the odds are against me. I'm going to play the long game. Stacey Abrams played the long game. She turned Georgia around, and it took her 10 years.
Yes.
She didn't do it last year. She started in 2010 when every state election was lost to Democrats in Georgia. Up and
Right.
down Georgia in 2010, they lost everything. Does that sound a little bit familiar with what happened in South Carolina 2020?
Wow.
Yes. So
Right.
that's why
Right.
this year we are starting fresh. We're starting from scratch. We're applying the same techniques, and we're looking to the year 2030. And we may be seeing a very different story. But I'm not going to be intimidated, not going to back down. I'm going to speak for what's right. You know what? I don't have the same problems that you do. You don't have the same problems I do. But boy, we can empathize.
Right.
Right?
That's-
When we
that's
see
the
somebody
thing.
else
We can
struggling,
definitely-
you can empathize with
Right.
them. And that's who we're fighting for.
Right.
Right. Yes, sir.
Thank you so much for
Thank you, Mr. Bill, and I want to take that trip with you. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All
Look
right.
forward to
Thank
it.
Bye
you.
bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks for calling.
As you were saying, we're reconstructing. Let's look at. Can we take a look at the Democratic primary guide and tell us a little bit about these persons?
You have to point out what you're referring to
Okay.
here, the primary guide.
Yeah,
Do you have a
let's
piece
see.
of paper, or are you talking about who's running for office?
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes. So, it's still very early. We've got an election November 2022, and we've got some statewide positions that have already had some people step up and announce. And for governor, you've got 3 people, Gary Votour, you've got Joe Cunningham, you've got Mia McLeod. And then for U.S. Senate, Angela Jeter and Crystal Matthews is a state representative. And I've had the fortune of getting to meet some of them. The 2 Senate candidates, Angela Jeter and Crystal Matthews, are just wonderful people. I mean, they're just so smart, so bright, so on focus, and they each come at it from a different way. And we're just lucky to have a choice between the 2 of them. And there may even be more who declare for U.S. Senate to run against our current senator, Tim, quote, racism is not a problem in America, Scott. So you talk about Mr. Diluted right there. For governor, this is a little more interesting because I have not had the chance to speak with the governor candidates. And you know what? I'll tell you, I'll share this with you. I want to be a little unfiltered here. I'm quite frustrated by them, to be quite honest. Been trying to get Joe Cunningham or Mia McLeod, here in Greenwood. And you know what happens when people stop through Greenwood? You get Obama gets his chant fired up, ready to go from right here in Greenwood.
Right. Absolutely.
You know who else came through Greenwood? Our current president and vice president.
Yes.
Before the
She did,
primaries,
right.
they both came through here within a month of each other. So coming through Greenwood's a good luck charm. And as a county party chair, and I'm one of 46, when we reach out to offer our help and say, look, we want to help you get your word out. We want to do everything for you. And you know what? Of the 46, not all are as active as we are. We're blessed to have a very active party here in Greenwood. The envy of a lot of counties. And they don't respond, or they said, we'll get back to you. And it's been 1 month, 2 months. Well, that discourages me from being all rah-rah for them. For Angela and for Crystal Matthews, I'll bend over backwards for them.
Yeah, because I actually came and heard Angela speak.
Yes.
Yeah, I was there.
Yes,
Very,
she was
very-
she was phenomenal.
She was.
Just great people. So I don't know if this would reach out, or if anybody knows our 2 or 3 gubernatorial candidates, but let them know Greenwood wants them. Greenwood wants to help them. Greenwood is there to support them. All they got to do is pick up the phone or reply to an email, and we'll be there for them.
I want to say this too quickly. A lot of people are afraid, and I'm just going to say a lot of people are afraid to be a part of, like, the they may be Democrat, they may vote Democrat, they may, or even Republican, but they're afraid to come to the forefront because they're afraid of maybe a job or, and I have to be honest, when you're looking for a job and you want to really be careful what you say, how you say it, because people will judge you. They think, well, okay, she thinks this way or she believes this way. Of course, I don't care who. Listen, I love Jesus. He is my savior. I don't care who you are. You can because God is going to provide. But, you know, when you talk about politics and things like that, people are afraid to step forward or to say, what will you say to those type people that are afraid to come forward? But like you said, you've been called everything but a child of God. So a lot of people may even say, you know, you're white, you're speaking up for Black people, or, you know, you're just, what do you say to people like that?
Well, first, one day I may have to call in a favor and need a Black person to speak up for this white boy right here. I may find myself in a situation I need some bailing out on. Thank you. I was that person, you know, who was afraid to speak up. Again, I was new to politics. 2016, you know, I voted. In 2017, I got involved. And it was truly sticking my pinky toe in the cold pool, you know, working my way in and creating, you know, doing stuff online. And, oh boy, I hope my boss doesn't see me, you know, tweet this. 4 years later, I'm just flamboyant. I don't care, right? You know, I'm just out there, and it really hasn't been all that bad. I think you just need to be true to yourself. Everybody has a different level. Not everybody is needing to be out on podcast or on video or on Facebook. Maybe you want to do things in the background. Maybe you just want to advise, but not be. That's perfectly fine as well. Right. You develop a comfort level. Maybe you don't, but there is a place for everybody. The way I look at this is that everybody's got some talent, something, whether it's an artistic talent, speaking talent, writing talent, anything. You can apply that talent to a cause that you believe in, whatever that cause is. And we're blessed here in the Greenwood County Democrats that I've got such a diverse group of talent. It would take me all day just to name them. And we put them all to use, whether it's up front or if it's in the background. There's a place for everybody.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Just want to say quickly, my girlfriend who says she went to school with Mia, and she would be very happy to get in contact with her for you. She will let Mia know.
Oh, wonderful. I had a chance to see Mia speak in person up in Anderson 2 weekends ago. You know, so I stood literally 10 feet away from her while she spoke, and I got goosebumps. She is, you know, she's got a personality. Said she would be phenomenal. She's got a personality about her. If she can find her way to Greenwood, we will pull out the red carpet for her, I promise.
So, Tanya Leverett, please make that happen. Talk to your sorority sister. Talk to her. Bill wants to talk to her. He wants to have a conversation, okay?
You were just, you know, speaking of different ways to get involved in what seems to be to me a uncontroversial one is the precinct leader. Can you speak to us about a minute and a half on that?
All right.
If you can pull that up for us.
So Greenwood County is broken up into 50 voting precincts, and what we're looking for is somebody to volunteer in each precinct to be what we call a precinct leader, and it could be just as little as being a person we can call on in a time of need, or you could be out recruiting or whatever. It doesn't take a lot. I can't go through the whole program. We have a crawl, walk, run program that we've developed where we walk you through every step of the way, starting with the crawl method. But I do give 30-minute info sessions twice a month. So follow us on Facebook, subscribe to our email newsletter, and you can
scroll down. We can get some of that contact information.
Yeah, you can just sit in for 30 minutes and see if it's right for you. You know, I'm really not into the hard sell. I'm just about sharing the information, and if you're good with it, you try it out. Great. If not, we shake hands as friends. Maybe find something else for you to get involved in. But I think being a precinct leader just opens the doors for you to make a difference in so many ways. And it's just a lot of fun, too. I'm having fun. Can you tell I'm having fun? This is fun. Even though it's serious stuff and it has life or death implications to many people, we're having fun.
And while we're talking about fun, Floyd's Fish Fry and Cookout.
Yes. Senator Floyd Nicholson, fantastic man. This is a man who's given decades of service. He and Mamie, just two of the best people on this planet. He had a tough race last year. There was some very nasty campaigning going on. That, you know what? You wouldn't even recognize Floyd if you listened to the other guy. And I talked with Mamie and Floyd about it, and I said, all right, you know, I'm ready to fight back. I've got some good messages. I got some nasty grams I could send. And Mamie said, no, that's not who we are. Right. You know, it says win or lose, we are going to be true to ourselves, and we're going to stay on the high road. That's right. So I went to this one event. It was over at Cokesbury College, and it was the stump speeches. So all the candidates, all the parties, they get 5 minutes to speak to the crowd on any topic they want. Floyd's opponent got up and started saying socialist and, you know, a baby killer and, you know, open borders and, you know, saying all these nasty things about Floyd. And I was just all riled up. Floyd got up about a half hour later and he started talking about, well, we brought in this for Greenwood County and we did this for the schools. And then we did, and he made it positive. He made it local. He talked about the facts and he ended up losing, and you know what? He still gets to hold his head up high at the end of the day.
Yes.
So anyhow, every year, the Democratic Party here in Greenwood would have a fundraising event in the spring, summertime. It would be a big fish fry. We used to call it the Fish and Dogs Cookout. But this year we voted on and renamed it, and we're calling it Floyd's Fish Fry and Cookout in honor of him, and that's going to be our permanent name change. Just to kind of remind us about all the good that Floyd has done for us.
Absolutely.
So tickets are on sale. Again, visit our website, follow us on Facebook, get our email newsletter. You get all the info about it, but it is going to be on Saturday, September 11th from 11 to 3. It's going to be at the Boys and Girls Club, which is one of Floyd's favorite groups that he's been a big sponsor of. And we're going to have live music. We're going to have fish and hot dogs and hamburgers. And
How much
games.
are tickets? Tell us how.
Yeah,
much
the
tickets
fish
are.
plates are 15 and dogs, burgers, and veggie plates are 10.
Okay. Well, Find Me Ministry is definitely willing to help you guys sell some of those tickets, and we will, if nothing happens, we will be a part of it. Reverend McCrae wants you to mention right quickly. We're over our minutes. We're going to get through Foster right quick. Mention the August Democratic meeting party meeting.
Over at Morris Chapel Baptist Church, or Family Life Center, August 7th, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Saturday, August 7th. We've got 4 wonderful speakers coming in from all over the state. There'll be a poster out about it within a day. And thank you to Bishop McCrae for offering us the use of his facility. It's a big old facility, lots of spacing that we can do. And it's just going to be indoors. It's going to be some food and coffee and lots of speaking and lots of
What
engaging.
day is this?
Saturday, August 7th.
August 7th.
9 a.m.
Okay. And Dr. Wiley White said, Bill for Greenwood mayor. Let's go, Bill.
No, not yet.
Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning in.
Thank
This
you.
hour is up too quick. We're already, 2 minutes? We're just a minute over. Good. We weren't too bad. So thank you guys for tuning in. We greatly appreciate Bill for taking his time to come and share with us. Guys, listen, get out and vote, whether you're Democrat, Republican, liberal, whatever, all the conservative, whatever your party, but please vote. And he's looking for some people to help with the party. We need some really great, responsible people that are going to go out and learn and be educated about what it is the party represents. So Bill would be really glad and happy if you would join the party and help him out. Guys, thank you so much. Bill, thank you for coming.
You.
Everybody appreciates you coming. And Beverly, she said something wonderful, that all this information that you're giving, really, thank you, Bill, for being so honest on this podcast, because we need to hear the truth. Mm-hmm. And that is so true. Truth will set you free. We've heard that. And thank you so much for your transparency and your honesty. May God continue to bless you. And I'll be following you. God is working on me and with some things. Again, I'm really, all jokes aside, I'm trying to educate myself more so that I just don't do things just because. I don't care who's a part of it. I don't do things just because. I'm trying to educate myself more. But I do want to help the community in every way that I can. So, guys, be blessed. Thank you for watching the podcast. We're asking you to share it. And hopefully you will hear something from Mia soon, because she said she shared the podcast with Mia. So it's connections, guys. Connections is really good. Love you guys. Thank you, Beverly and Foster Bird, for this wonderful platform. Hope that you guys continue to be wonderfully blessed. Sow into the ministry, $WarRap. Love you. Take care. See you next week.